Hello, and welcome back to today's American Flyer Trains. In this session, we're going to revisit a subject and a focus of a recent video that I published regarding the rebuild or maintenance or repair of sintered iron side frame trucks on American Flyer trains. Let's get started. First, some housekeeping. This is an article that I rediscovered recently after publishing the video, and it deals specifically with the topic of that video. And it's very well written, very concise, well illustrated, and shows one possibility of a way of reconstructing these trucks. It doesn't talk a lot about their repair. It talks more about the reattachment of sintered iron side frames to the bolster arms of trucks that don't have iron side frames on them at the moment. A little housekeeping. This appeared, or is it, let me go back to this. This is titled American Flyer Truck Rehab. Subtitle, How to Repair Broken American Flyer Die-Cast Trucks. It appeared in the Weekend Workshop section of the September 2017 Classic Toy Train issue. September 2017 Classic Toy Trains. I'm not going to revisit everything that the author does. As I said, it's worth having as a reference. But I just want to reiterate that he also mentions that how important it is to get the parts clean, extremely clean, especially at the point of bonding, and to check the fit and alignment prior to making the bond. So there'll be a lot to do there, whether it be on the surface of the sintered iron side frame or the surface of the bolster arm, to get that, make sure that that alignment is correct and that the parts are touching and making connection in the right way. He also mentioned that needle nose pliers will sometimes work really well, or should work really well, in the adjustment to these bolster arms that are sheet metal in order to get them to align properly with the side frames. I failed to mention that, and it is important I think, as he does right here in this illustration, that the distance between the inside edge of these side frames needs to be 1 1/4 inch. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what this factory one is, and that's really important. Another item that he mentioned that I failed to mention, actually I didn't know at the time, was that JB Weld, which is what he recommends here as part of the tools that are required, in addition to, notice, he is also using the small ratchet clamp, as it illustrated here and here, in addition to JB Weld, in addition to needle nose pliers, in addition to some files, which might be needed on metal parts. I didn't realize that JB Weld was steel reinforced, which means it'll conduct current. And that's important if the truck in question is going to be using or going to have installed on it pickup wheels, say to illuminate a passenger coach or a caboose. So because the current might pass, if in fact it does not have wipe or swipe springs or leaf springs on it touching the axle, the current could go from the wheel to the axle, to the side frame, to the truck, the bolster, through the bolster arm, to the truck, through a rivet on the body, or excuse me, on the chassis of the car, and then that rivet goes up inside the car, and then of course wires can be soldered to that might, say, for example, provide illumination for a caboose. So it might be in the current path. I don't know, I haven't experimented, I have not tried to use crazy glue in current flow, and it might not work. It might be an insulator, as the typical DuPont model glue is. Provides actually pretty good insulation. The other thing he mentioned that I also touched on is that he says 15 to 24 hours for the curing of the bond. And I'll stick with 24 hours. I just like to let it go a full day before I try to put any pressure on anything. A couple other items. If you're going to be building some of these or repairing them, and they're going to become contact trucks, that is, they're going to be picking up current, some on either side for the current, it's best to have two on the side that you have the power wheels, two, not just one. So don't go power wheel, plastic, plastic, plastic. That only leaves you open to, say, crossing certain sections of track in what there might be a drop in current, a total like a switch, It also, the rocking of the car, it may break contact and cause additional flicker. So have 2 power wheels and 2 plastic wheels if in fact this is going to be part of the current flow. The other thing I failed to mention, which is really important, is if you're doing what he's doing here in this article, and that is literally reconstructing these trucks from a junk pile, you might say, the sintered iron side frames to the bolster arms from scratch, you're probably going to have to go out and acquire axles and wheels. Well, just make sure that the axles are the right length. Now, American Flyer had 2 axle lengths. One was for the sheet metal type trucks. We revisited those in my video. Those axles need to be 1 5/16. If you're putting them on sintered iron side frame trucks, the axles ought to be 1 7/16. An 1/8 of an inch longer is required. I tried putting the longer ones on sheet metal and it popped off the journal boxes. If you put the shorter ones on here, I would have reservations that it could possibly fall out and become disconnected under some little stressful situation on the track. Well, that's it for this session. To wrap up and provide a little bit more information on the rebuild and repair of American Flyer die-cast trucks. So long, everyone.